2021, many were affected by COVID. This prompted the first Lignum Vitae Film Festival LVFF virtual show hosted by our own Andrew James Sawyers. This show saw a deadline directed by Amanda Wiley capturing 5 awards and Truly Valiant produced by Patrick Meikle capturing 3. Despite a rough year, the team was satisfied with the show, and the excitement in the live YouTube chat proved that despite the hurdles, there was still a race to be run. And now 2022 begins. Still a year of challenges, but a year of victories nonetheless. To take us through this year's program, DCS alum and CVM News reporter and producer, Janelle Powell.
Welcome to the 2022 Lignum Vitae Film Festival, LVFF, the second virtual edition. I'm your host, Janelle Powell. It is my pleasure to be here presenting to you virtually. But just as how you may be watching from home, I'm presenting from home, so please excuse any noise you may hear in the background. The last year has been difficult, but we're here to make memories. So sit back, relax from wherever you're watching as we take a digital journey. I remember my years of acting and producing for LVFF, and now I'm hosting. And it is with the same honor and humility that served me well then that serves me now in this position. With God, all things are possible, and without Him, there is no us. So we begin the airing of this year's show with prayer.
Eternal Heavenly Father, our God, Creator, Redeemer, and Sustainer, we bow in reverence before you today in full adoration and praise. We thank you for the privilege given to us through the merits of Christ, our Lord and Savior, that we can come boldly to you, to the throne of grace in prayer. We empty ourselves of self and anything that is unlike you, and now lean on your mercy. Thank you for Northern Caribbean University and the role she continues to play in the conveyance of Adventist Christian education to all who come within its sphere of influence. The College of Humanities, Behavioral and Social Sciences is home for the Department of Communication Studies. This great department, the DCS, has been celebrating its annual Week of Excellence since April 2 under the theme Resilient Communication, Paving the Way to Recovery. This awesome tour is now culminating with the annual Lignum Vitae Film Festival. Thank you for your presence and guidance throughout the week, and we now ask that you will grace us once more with your divine holy presence and direct throughout this program so that its success will be guaranteed. Thank you for gifting our faculty, staff, and students with their various creative capacities that will be demonstrated here today. We commit the program therefore into your holy hands, asking that your will and purpose be accomplished. All these we ask in the precious name of Jesus. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Peterkin. We continue the program with greetings, firstly from our President, Dr. Lincoln Edwards, and then our Chairperson, Miss Noreen Daly.
Since 2020, due to the proliferation of the COVID-19 pandemic and the measures that were instituted to curb the spread of the disease, people across the world, including those of us here at home in Jamaica, have experienced significant disruptions in normal life operations. However, due to the ubiquitous nature of technology and new media, things did not come crashing down around us. Yes, I agree that it was difficult to operate within the new normal. Still, we were able to continue working, studying, and doing business within the virtual environment because of the many online platforms that were facilitated through technology and the resilience of media persons. Many times we view online programs, we participate in online classes, we enjoy our favorite entertainment activities, we even participate in various online church activities without knowing the full extent of what goes on behind the scenes to make these things possible. And as the world endeavors to recover from the challenges brought on by the pandemic, we continue to depend on the resilience of the media to help us in this recovery process. So, I use this opportunity to thank our media team here on campus, across the nation and across the globe for showing up and being resilient even in the face of the continuing pandemic. Importantly, as we participate in today's annual Lignum Vitae Film Festival being hosted by the Department of Communication Studies, I wish to congratulate Department Chair Ms. Noreen Daly and all team members who were instrumental in the planning and execution of the event. I also congratulate all the contestants in this year's competition and wish you all success in this endeavor. Of course, not everyone will get a first or second place award, but the fact that you were selected as a contender in this competition already makes you a winner. So, welcome to this auspicious event. Accept greetings from the university administration, and I hope you will enjoy the lineup of activities that are in store for you. God bless.
This is the final event for our Week of Excellence 2022. What a week it has been. Lignum Vitae Film Festival 2022, one of the most anticipated events for our Week of Excellence. This is a student-created event and continues to be one of the events that we look forward to, because this is where our students' films are highlighted, and students from other institutions and also independent producers also have the opportunity to showcase their work as well. We will then listen and watch. This is a student-created event. This is where our students will show their creativity and their initiative, because bearing in mind that we don't offer film, but yet we have students who have an interest in film, so this is their way of showcasing and really showcasing their talent and honing their craft. Welcome, enjoy the evening. See you next year.
The past years have been rough. There have been deaths, and since our last showing of LVFF, we, the DCS family, were hit several times, 2 in particular. Today we salute former faculty member Michael Sharp.
I remember watching Michael and Lorraine on the evening news and taking special note of how professional the both of them were. The synergy that existed between the two of them was just excellent. And then I remember the first time I met Michael, it was on location for the Your Issues live show, and taking note again of how meticulous he was, ensuring that everything was in order and in place to see that there was a successful show. And then a few years later, Michael and I became colleagues when he joined the faculty at Northern Caribbean University in the Department of Communication Studies. Most of our conversations centered around the well-being of the students, because Michael wanted to ensure that the students were receiving the quality education that they deserved. He opened many doors for those students, ensuring that they got the practical hands-on training, using his contacts across Jamaica to ensure that they were placed in various areas to garner the experience that they needed.
Michael will be remembered for the energy he brought to this department. I remember in the 2016 elections in particular, when he got a whole team of students, quite a number of them, to do real-time journalism coverage from different parts of the country during the election. This was big. And the students were so excited, they were so inspired. They wanted tips on what to do. I mean, what if something went wrong? How do reporters treat it? How do they deal with it? So he really, really inspired them. And I think that is one of the things that he will be most remembered for. His ability to lift people, not just to encourage them to do well, but to do exceptionally well.
There was a lighter side to Michael also. He was always jovial, always sharing a joke, always happy, always, ensuring that the people around him were happy and in good spirits. He will not be forgotten, even though he left us so soon. So take hope in knowing that Michael will continue to live on in our memories. Rest assured that God took him home at a time that he saw fit. Rest in peace, Michael. And for the rest of us who are here grieving, let us be encouraged. Let us do what we need to do to carry on and to ensure that Michael's legacy will be spread across this country and across the world. I know that Michael's legacy is going to live on because there are many of those students that the lives he touched and the training that he gave, and many of those individuals are working in the industries across the Caribbean, and I dare say across the world. So rest assured that Michael's legacy is going to live on. So take hope, be encouraged, and know that Michael will not be forgotten. So condolences to his family, to his loved ones, to his friends, and all of us should take comfort in knowing that Michael is at rest. God bless.
He will be greatly missed.
The other candle that went out close to us was Peter Gay Charlton, who featured in LVFF for several years in different categories. Known to many, she was bright, promising, talented.
She really looked forward to film festival every single year. So much that we would be planning what our next film would be the year before. And like when she put her mind to something, you know she's gonna do it. If she promised you something, you dead know that she's gonna have your back. And we were always excited about film festival because it was one of those nights that we could enjoy the red carpet, enjoy films, and enjoy our work being presented on the big screen.
Film Festival is an event worth looking forward to. As a future producer and scriptwriter, this event gives me the opportunity to be able to add my creativity, share that creativity, and motivate and inspire others.
She meant the world. She meant so much to so many people, and her smile was absolutely contagious.
I'm choosing to remember Peter Gay in moments of laughter, lots of joy. I had the privilege of knowing her from our days at Northern Caribbean University within DCS, and again a second time as co-workers at the Jamaican News Network, JNN, under the tutelage of the now deceased late great Michael Sharp. Peter Gay was a dream co-worker. She was respectful, she was fair, always on time, and she was just a joy to be around. She had a smile that could light up a room, her skill set translated on camera. She knew how to deal with people. It doesn't matter who you were, she knew how to talk to you. She was just always courteous.
She wasn't the loudest person in the room. She was very soft-spoken, and I remember her as someone who was dedicated to whatever she was working on. Her energy was warm, something you miss when it's gone. Peter Gay was a light. She gave the world something, and she had a lot more to share.
I'm inviting you to come out and watch, come out and support, because this is an event worth attending.
May the memories of Mr. Sharp and Miss Charlton live with us always. In March of this year, DCS, in association with Icon Media JA and Anuvu, presented a free filmmakers showcase where persons were able to hear from industry players, director Jessane Jackson and cinematographer Dennis Fife. They were also able to ask questions and get feedback to whatever queries they had. Here are the highlights.
After I left high school, I didn't have any idea of what I wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted it to be something art-related. I've always been interested in the arts. I'm an illustrator from birth. Almost had a degree in graphic design. I started going to Edna, but unfortunately, I ended up having to drop out. But before that, when I went to Edna, like a lot of things were new to me because the school that I came from, what we did as art is just traditional pencil to paper. You probably use some pens at times. You didn't even paint, isn't it? And where I come from in the country, we weren't exposed to certain things. So the concept of filmmaking wasn't even a thought because it just felt like something that was just always out of reach. Plus, I had no idea how to even get into filmmaking. I didn't even have a computer until I started going to Edna, and that was legit the first time I had a computer. And I dropped out of school. Luckily, I had a friend at the time who was interested in photography, and I just thought it was like, this is weird art. This is like, do you really consider photography art? I mean, you're literally just taking pictures of people. Like, there's no real skill involved. And I tried it one day, and I wasn't interested in the photography part, but I realized that the camera that they had could record video, which was a T3 at the time. And when I recorded the video and watched it back, I legit was shocked. I was just like, yo, this looks so real. Like 2 days later, we're just like, yo, we need to find back that camera. We're going to shoot something in the hallway and edit it. Mind you, at that time, I barely even knew what editing was because I was just getting into graphic design. And we shot a teleportation scene in the hallway. It's the worst thing ever, but it was the start, you know? And after that, as I said, I dropped out of school, got a job by this graphic design company, and legit, with the combination of my first 3 paychecks, I bought a camera, and I've been shooting like every day since that. It was a T2 at the time. You know, I bought it, I took people's photos, even though I didn't like photography to all that. I got interested in photography because I realized it was a path to cinematography. I started taking photos. As I said earlier, I started shooting the chickens in the yard, shoot some grass. You shoot almost anything that you could find that you thought was like worthy of shooting. And I mean, with that, you know, people saw that, you know, I was doing stuff, and a friend of mine who went to Edna at the time, she was about to graduate and she needed to put together something for her final year, and she asked me to shoot it, and everybody loved it.
It's common for me to see stuff, for example, in the film festivals, where, you know, younger filmmakers from universities, their camera is on and they have it on a tripod and they just turn on all 3 lights, and I'm like, you really don't need that for the story that you're telling. Or the camera angle is just, I'm like, alright, could have done that way differently. And just so you can understand that when you're doing cinematography, when you're a director of photography, or even if you're just starting out as somebody who's let's say a videographer, there's just some important things that you have to keep in mind so you can graduate and move up from a videographer to a director of photography, right? Mm-hmm. It's a lot of work. You know, it's a whole lot of work that goes into planning what you're going to shoot, sitting down and going through stuff.
All right, so yeah, for inspiration and concept that comes from different places. I'm inspired by other people's work. You know what I mean? Whether it's painters or other cinematographers, directors, even just like graffiti downtown can inspire me. And people, culture. I have been so fortunate that I was able to travel and see different places, and even that too was some inspiration to me in how I light, because people across different countries light differently. Of course there is a common way how to make images look cinematic, as we say. One of them is shooting on the shadow side of your subject, to create depth. So that is kind of is a universal thing, and even then you don't necessarily have to. It's just a guideline, and trust me, if you want to level up your cinematography, just put one light on one side of the face and put your camera on the opposite side. That is one easy way to get cinematic images. Just put the light on one side and make sure, say, your camera is placed on the opposite side of that light.
More people who get into film and cinematography is the more trained people will have, as well as the more content that we're putting out, is the more we'll get other people or other investors from other countries interested. So like we putting out like one short film every 5 months, not cutting it.
Blackmagic was releasing so much new cameras and they had a new sensor coming out. What makes it different from the other sensors? I was doing all of this, just acquiring more knowledge, because I'm like, when the place opened up, when the whole thing, when the gates opened up, I'm like, okay, yeah, I was preparing for this anyway, and I knew that it would open. Once it opened up, it would be crazy, So I was just preparing for that. I was like, whenever it opened up, so I wasn't even worried about it too tough, because I'm like, it's slow now, but it's going to definitely pick up. And then, as Justin said, the wars of the brand started, right? And it's just it just kept on going and going. So every day somebody else was shooting, and then you had a few music videos that were being shot, and then there were a few commercials, and you had TV shows that were being shot at the same time. So I, you felt it in the beginning. We did, because just like the day they shut down the country, 2 days before that, we had just wrapped a Jamaica tourist board thing, for example, and then we were on a hiatus for forever, and then the place opened up. So during that time, it was a self-development. But persons who were like, oh, COVID this and COVID that was a time for you to sit down and figure out what you're going to do with your media career and practice and kind of strengthen your focal point. So if it was writing, then you'd spend all of that, you'd spend time writing, come up with some story ideas and do that. If it was shooting, then you go through the house. Some other times I didn't even take out of camera. I have three rigs here, and sometimes I just had my phone in my hand, and I'd be like, "Oh Lord, that light is coming through so nicely. Let us shoot. Let me shoot it."
That's rich.
Was that?
That's rich.
Again, thanks to LVFF partners Icon Media and Anuvu, as well as our guest presenters, Mr. Jackson and Five, for an engaging seminar. We look forward to a long-standing partnership. It's almost time for what you've been waiting for, the films. Sadly, this year we've received a lower than average number of submissions. Nevertheless, as they say in the business, the show must go on. We are cognizant of the times and the limit on resources, but we are still pleased to see the submissions. In the category of trailers, we have Unoccupied, Sheridan Gale, Stanley and Nadine, Raymore Williams, The Last Dinner, Raymore Williams, Silent Films, The Terrible 2, Selenia James. First place, Kevon Gilbert. PSAs, Be Responsible, Kibishi Kennedy. Silence is Complicity, Fitzroy Powell. Short film, The Feeling of Before, Lisanne Gale. Mobile film, The Last Dinner, Raymore Williams. Commercial, George Watches, Fitzroy Powell. Mini documentary, The Man Who Killed Jim Crow, Fitzroy Powell. Animation, Milk and Sugar by Malik Mitchell. A quick reminder, in the categories of short films and mini documentaries, these are to be no more than 10 minutes. Trailers, 90 seconds max. Silent films, 7 minutes max. Animation, no more than 5 minutes. And TV commercials between 30 seconds to a minute. The prizes available tonight include Best Script, Best Director, Best Producer, Best Cinematography, Best Overall Post-Production, Best Overall Picture, Best Actress, and a special Best on Show award. Also, to sweeten the pot, Icon Media is offering an internship as it relates to the winner of the areas in Best Overall Picture and Best Cinematography, and guest presenter from our Seminar 5 is offering a similar prize. And it doesn't end there. Jamaica Cultural Development Commission, JCDC, is embarking on a 2-year partnership with LVFF. They will award tonight's special award and will showcase one of our submissions in their Diamond Jubilee Film Showcase celebration as we celebrate Jamaica 60. Without further ado, part 1 of the films.
Happiness in marriage is not something that just happens. A good marriage must be created. In marriage, the little things are the big things. It is never being too old to hold hands. It's remembering to say, I love you, at least once a day. Miss a page if we run about. I'll be ready when the pieces fall tonight. If they fall again, it's an honor to wait here. Thrown out in the wreckage, didn't want this in my circling paces. You gathered all the wreckage and you made this safe. Something about you stands out. There's something about you. Pull me closer now.
I regret the day I have you. Leave the house. You're such a failure. Look at you. You have no value. You have no purpose.
You thief! You criminal in this community. What are you doing here? Don't let me call the cops on you right now, you know. Worthless.
Anyone can stand in the middle of a kitchen, so silent, so still, they become a part of it. Beautifully composed, yet pouring over into oblivion. The answer at her fingertips, and yet her soul is so dissonant. What once was a bright and resilient world has changed tragically. It is now a world of blue, more sad and unusual than anyone was used to. Anyone can be tormented, disconnected, afraid of their own reflection, afraid of their own self-rejection. A dream of a world without quarantine, a paradise of technicolor memories, a consequence of sweet dreams. Dreams that exist only for a time. Dreams that exist only in our minds. Anyone can be deafened by silence, scream out and yet never say a word, speak up and yet never feel heard, reach out and yet never get a response in return. Anyone can stay put, yet discover something new and search for the missing parts of you. Anyone can miss the feeling of before, miss the person you once knew, and hate the one you have become. Time passes. And everything is different. Everything is different. And yet, nothing has changed. I grieve the death of myself. I search for answers, but turn up empty, like the hollow in my chest. Anyone can feel lost, broken, ashamed, like a flower in a desert, hoping for rain. Lost is a never-changing state. When to protect the people you love, you are told you must stay away. Anyone can be feeling how I feel. Yet I cannot be sure if this is the feeling of dying or just the loss of the feeling of before.
I had to pull my couch out to really enjoy those films. After those submissions, we want to give you some time to digest. So we're going to hear the sounds of DCS student Giovanni Baker, and then we take a short break, and we'll be right back.
You take forever to get ready. I wonder why you always do that. You spend forever looking in the mirror. I wonder why you always do that. I see you trying to impress me, but you always impress me. Oh, baby, you don't know that. You have the makeup, and in the morning when you wake up, you're so beautiful to me. You spend your days and nights on the phone, looking at girls in your magazine. I spend my whole life looking at you, 'cause you're my everything, you are my queen. So you don't have to impress me, 'cause you always impress me. Oh, oh, baby, you don't know that. In all the makeup, and in the morning when you wake up, you're so beautiful to me. Baby, you don't like your hair, but I don't even care. You're so beautiful to me. Shining in the dark, yeah. You know the makeup, and in the morning when you wake up, you're so beautiful to me. Baby, you don't like your hair, I don't even care, I don't even care. You're so beautiful to me. You're so beautiful to me.
Welcome back. We continue with the films.
Charles Hamilton Houston, The Man Who Killed Jim Crow. Nicknamed The Man Who Killed Jim Crow, Charles Hamilton Houston was a prominent African-American lawyer responsible for developing strategies in nearly every civil rights case in the all-out legal assault and eventual dismantling of Jim Crow laws in the United States.
So Charles Hamilton Houston is a Black attorney who played an instrumental role in dismantling Jim Crow laws, specifically dealing with education.
He came up with a long-term strategy of how to fight discrimination and inequality in the school system. He developed a cadre of Black professional attorneys and trained them at Howard University so that they would be specialists in constitutional law, so that they would know how to dismantle the arguments that were established for Plessy versus Ferguson and separate but equal.
An attorney and significant civil rights figure who knew how to take on Jim Crow of all things.
Born on September 3, 1895, Houston was the son of Mary and William Houston, who worked as an attorney in Washington, D.C.
So when we look at Charles Hamilton Houston and how he grew up, Charles Hamilton Houston was not a person who came from a poor family. He actually came from a very educated, and some would even consider upper middle class household. He wasn't coming into the legal field blindly. He really was coming into the field that he was groomed and mentored for through his father.
With the outbreak of World War I in 1914 through 1918, Houston earned his commission as a second lieutenant and was sent to France in 1918, where he saw no action but did experience the racism that the segregated United States Army brought to Europe during the war.
Charles Houston served in World War I, and after he came out of World War I, he went to Harvard University and he graduated with his law degree and then actually got his PhD degree a year after. And he believed that the attorney's role was to be the social engineer to help fight those who are less advantaged. And so he's dedicated his life to that and to helping his students and other attorneys and the NAACP to fight for the disadvantaged. And we've all benefited from that.
Houston also held positions as professor and dean at the prestigious Howard University Law School. While at Howard, he was mentor to Thurgood Marshall, who was later appointed to the Supreme Court.
In his position as a faculty member, encouraged and recruited many African American students to go to law school and then later serve in civil rights action cases and be a part of the NAACP and their movement through the Legal Defense Fund.
Houston was recruited by the NAACP as a special counsel. Beginning in 1930, Houston organized a legal team, including his protege, Thurgood Marshall, Robert L. Carter, Oliver Hill, and other Black attorneys who fought and won numerous cases before the Supreme Court.
So Charles Houston was the person who discovered that if Blacks knew constitutional law, they would be able to fight the legality of the argument for separate but equal. And he recognized that this was against the 14th Amendment, and he came up with a plan to argue against it systematically.
Perhaps Houston's greatest achievement was the civil rights victory of the landmark case Brown versus Board of Education, which ended legal segregation in public schools in the United States. Brown versus Board of Education marked the culmination of a long-term strategy to desegregate public education by the NAACP Legal Defense Team.
The Brown versus Board of Education was a huge win for us because in this case, right, it dismantled and disproved the earlier ruling in a very, very important case as well, known as Plessy versus Ferguson, which occurred in 1896. In that case, they said that it's okay if we have facilities that are separate but equal. But the Brown versus Board of Education case said that separate is not equal, and that a lot of our institutions were separate but extremely unequal when we compared the two.
We're not asking for any special favors, just the opportunity. And that's significant. As a psychologist as well, I think about that's great psychological strategy. I'm not going to take you directly on, but I'm going to use logic and philosophical arguments, the strength of my arguments to be able to take you on.
The NAACP and the civil rights lawyers that were fighting the court case knew that they had to show and demonstrate how separate but equal discrimination was affecting students. And so they came up with the DAL test. Dr. Kenneth Clark, he was a Black psychologist, went throughout the South, and he interviewed several students and asked them how they felt, and they chose between a black doll and a white doll. And overall, they all thought the white doll was superior and better and prettier and smarter.
On May 17, 1954, Charles Houston's strategy proved effective as the NAACP's legal defense team successfully made their argument when the U.S. Supreme Court ruled unanimously that racial segregation in public schools denied African Americans the equal protection of laws and violated the 14th Amendment to the Constitution.
And so its impact was huge because even though it dealt with education specifically, it was used as the catalyst, right, for dismantling all other forms of segregation, such as desegregating public accommodations, right? Desegregating public entities, allowing African Americans to travel, allowing African Americans to enter into businesses that they were formerly turned away from.
The Brown versus Board of Education case in 1954 was so significant, it actually sparked the civil rights movement in a formal way. Because right after 1954, you have the 1955 Montgomery boycott, and they got their passion and their enthusiasm because of the ruling in 1954. And so Emmett Till's murder took place that same time as well. And it was a signal for Blacks to realize that they no longer needed to be passive, that the federal government was now starting to support them, and that they had some kind of political backing and legal backing.
So as a psychologist, I'm always very excited when I see people who are willing to appreciate Black people, but also sacrifice. Because it was indeed a sacrifice for him to engage in this type of practice. He could have just gone with his own family's law practice, Charles Houston could have. But he decided, I'm going to take on this entire system that's built around the world that's trying to oppress me. That's heavy. That's heavy.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Small submissions, but big punches. Despite challenges, we create. Well, we take another break before hearing from our judges.
What should I order today? Get food, get meds, get groceries, get things delivered with 876 Get. Download the app today.
My biggest wish for this Easter?
That I have enough Easter bun for my family.
From Jamaica to foreign, yummy bun, I see in my suitcase, me darling.
Yummy, 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 yummy.
You make the best Easter bun every time.
And it always tastes good, only the best.
Any bun you choose for the Easter, if I'm not yummy, no bother eat no bun.
I'll eat it morning, noon and night.
Eat that. Yummy bun. Yummy bun.
You don't want some?
Yummy bun. Everybody wants some.
Intermission studies, devoted and committed to serve. We are the future. We continue to hone our craft to achieve the success at last. Strive for excellence. 3.5, nothing less. DCS. DCS. We are the best. DCS. We are the best.
DCS always have the victory. Them no know when next move is a mystery. Other department always try step to it, but them feel we left them in adversity. No one throughout the university we have the key. So are we laxity. Always a strive, but some of them yet fissy. So we department full of ecstasy.
We continue to strive for excellence. 3.5, nothing less. DCS. DCS. We are the best. DCS. We are the best. 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 We are the best.
Thank you, Gio. Welcome back to the Lignum Vitae Film Festival. I'm anxious to hear from our judges, but let me see the names of your favorite films going up in the chat right now. I know you've seen some amazing ones. Come on, let me see them. Type, type, type. We aren't the ones tasked with declaring the top video for each section, but your view is still important. Let's now head over to our judges. Judges Andrew Forsyth and Successia Nixon Kelly share based on what they have seen and based on resilience and recovery. Before lead judge Kyle Chin gives the judges feedback.
Let me first start by saying congratulations to those who came out on top of our showcase this evening. I must say that for the entries we received, we noticed that there were some that were strong in certain areas and weak in certain areas, and I just want to take the time to encourage you to work on those weak areas. If it's audio that you have an issue with or see that you're weak in, get some help. Get some advice from persons who you are confident in that know about audio, or if you're weak in the video aspect, get some advice. If you're weak in the editing aspect, get some advice, get some help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. At the end of the day, you want to ensure that what you produce, what is edited and what is put out there in the public's eye is a very good production, will provide a very good viewing experience for the viewers. Listen, I know that we've been going through some hard times. We've been going through this COVID period together, so I know it's hard, but I'm going to encourage you to keep fighting through. start working on those films for next year. It's not easy, I know, and for filmmakers and production personnel, things have been slow, but be encouraged. It's not over. And let me let you in on a little secret. The sweetest part of this all is overcoming your struggles you've been going through as a filmmaker, to get the budget for that film, to just get equipment, just to think about ideas to put together a production. It can get rough, can get hard at times, but as I said, the sweetest part of this all is just overcoming those struggles and seeing where you've coming from and where you are now, or where you are editing, or where you are heading. But just ensure that you start working on those films from now, so that we can have more entries next year and much better productions going forward. Thank you.
Hello everyone, thank you so much for tuning into the Lignum Vitae Film Festival. A special congratulations to all the filmmakers who will be showcasing their film or their project this evening. I know conceptualizing to scripting to screen is such a difficult path, nonetheless very rewarding. I know that feeling when you finally see your script going into production, and when you finally sit down and watch your final product. It is an absolutely amazing feeling. And I know it's hard. I know screenwriting is hard, especially in times like these. You know, some persons will say that we're still in the pandemic. Some will say, okay, we're going into post-pandemic. But nonetheless, the last few years have been difficult on the entire world. And sometimes, and in some areas, you know, screenwriters would have been lacking mentally, lacking the inspiration to write. But I just want to encourage you, you know, that write at least a couple words per day. Just write. It doesn't matter how difficult it is. There is this thing that writers use as excuse not to write, and it's called writer's block. And the only way to get over that is to, yes, you guessed it, write. So find the passion, find the drive to write. There are so many ideas floating around. What I want you to do is to pay attention to what is happening, current affairs, in your home, in your extended family, in your community. Look at things. Identify persons. You know, there are ideas floating everywhere. So you can get an amazing idea. Sit down and conceptualize that idea and get to writing and give us some beautiful stories. We need it. You know, Alfred Hitchcock says there is one thing that you need, but basically, you know, three things that you need to make a good film. The script, the script, the script. So we need those scripts, and we need them to be amazing. We have the talents here, and I know we can write some beautiful stories. We can write some global stories that can connect audiences globally. Just find the passion. Find the time. Take your time. It's no rush. Write whatever you can. At least 5 words per day. That's fine. If that's your pace, that's it. Do it until you can increase from 5 to 10 to 15 until you're doing an entire page or 2 or 3 within a day. Just go at your own pace. Just make sure that you stay focused, that you think about the idea that you have for your stories. Spend some time in developing those stories. Create beautiful worlds. Create amazing characters. And put everything together and give us those wonderful stories. So please, continue to do your best. And of course, write hard.
Hello everybody. My name is Kyle Chin. I'm this year's Chief Judge at Lignum Vitae Film Festival 2022. I want to say thank you to everybody who was able to come together and get a team and enter a film or a project. We know that it was very difficult this year, and it was reflected in the amount of submissions that we had, that people were having a hard time, given all the restrictions of COVID-19, to get together with, formulate teams and create projects. So we want to give an extra special shout out to everyone who was able to do a project and able to submit. This year, because of the small amount of entrants that we had, we made a decision to do a best in show as opposed to individual categories such as best mini doc, best short film, best animation, etc. So we wanted to group everything in order to be fair and not have categories that only have one entrance, which actually happened for a couple categories. We wanted to group all categories so that it could be judged fairly, and given the limitations and considerations of their specific genres, to be judged on scale to provide a best in show winner. So the judges and I decided to judge upon script development, editing, audio design, cinematography, and directing. And with this, we were able to come up with our winners. We want to encourage all the filmmakers to continue making your films, to take a step up. If you did a PSA this year, do a short film next year. If you did a trailer this year, complete that trailer, make the short, right? And we want to really encourage everyone to move from strength to strength, develop your craft, but let's get to the short film stage. Let's get to the stage where we have our narrative structure stories that could maybe be turned into a feature, maybe turned into a series, or stand alone by itself as a short film, right? And I want to definitely emphasize that short films are art in themselves and don't always have to be turned into a feature-length film, right? So we want to encourage you all. We want to thank you, everyone, for taking part and for entering. And I want to encourage you for next year to take a step up and to enter again, right? And for those who haven't entered, get your team together. If it was a team of 6 working on a film now, 6 of those people can have 6 more people join a team and create a film, create a work. These are immortalized pieces of art that will forever have your name on it. So I encourage you all to go out there and create.
And without further ado, here are our winners.
In the category Best Producer, the judges decided that the winner is Fitzroy Powell for The Man Who Killed Jim Crow.
So when we look at Charles Hamilton Houston and how he grew up, Charles Hamilton Houston was not a person who came from a poor family.
For Best Cinematography, the award goes to George's Watch by Fitzroy Powell. The best overall picture for 2022 belongs to The Man Who Killed Jim Crow.
And that's significant. As a psychologist as well, I think about that's great psychological strategy.
The Best Director Award goes to Fitzroy Powell for The Man Who Killed Jim Crow.
The NAACP and the civil rights lawyers that were fighting the court case knew that they had to show and demonstrate how separate but equal discrimination was affecting students.
The scores for the award for Best Script was close between The Man Who Killed Jim Crow and The Feeling of Before. The judges decided to award The Man Who Killed Jim Crow for this category.
Allowing African Americans to travel, allowing African Americans to enter into businesses that they were formerly turned away from.
The award for Best Overall Post-Production goes to The Man Who Killed Jim Crow.
Emmett Till's murder took place that same time as well, and it was a signal for Blacks to realize that they no longer needed to be passive, that the federal government was now starting to support them.
The award for Best Short Film is The Feeling of Before by Lee Sangale.
And search for the missing parts of you.
The award for Best Mini Documentary is The Man Who Killed Jim Crow.
He developed a cadre of Black professional attorneys and trained them at Howard University so that they would be specialists in constitutional law.
In the category Best Actress, the winner is Danger Harrison from The Feeling of Before.
And everything is different.
And for the category Best in the Show, the winner is The Man Who Killed Jim Crow.
This entire system that's built around the world that's trying to oppress me.
Congratulations to all our winners. As the curtains close on this event, of course, we must say thanks to our team, from planning to production to our judges, everyone, and to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. To all those who participated, a job well done. You have every reason to be proud of yourself. Winners or not, you're still amazing. Thank you to our sponsors and to our chair for her continued support. And that, my friends, is a wrap for 2022. Start preparing for next year, when we will be in person by the hook or the crook. I urge you to start shooting, start scripting, just start. I'm Janelle Powell. It was my pleasure being here, and I hope this has added some value to you. Blessings.